Hello, good evening and welcome to News at 10, our last bulletin for the day. We're live on TV3 and on 3FM 92.7. Remember, we're also streaming live on our Facebook page and on 3news.com. Let's begin with the day's major news highlights. Government's eagerly awaited flagship educational program, Free Senior High School, took off Monday morning. Thousands of students and their guardians trooped into the various schools to register for the first day of reopening for the 2017-2018 academic year. And the Accra Metropolitan Assembly says it did not authorize a commission on human rights and administrative justice to demolish the old Parliament House in Accra. The main chamber of Ghana's first Parliament House, located opposite the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum in Accra, has been pulled down. And the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority has identified weak communication and lack of feedback as major bottlenecks affecting the paperless transaction at the port. The full implementation of the innovation is yet to take off as the old system is being used alongside. Those are our major news highlights. Up next is the big one. Please stay. Welcome back. Now, senior high schools across the country reopened Monday as the new MPP government's free senior high school policy for first-year students kicks off. Our Northern Regional Bureau Chief Kofi Dumfe was at the T.I. Ahmadiyya Girls Senior High School earlier today.
Are you okay with the processes of registering new students for the free senior high school?
Yes, please. I'm very much okay, because things are going on smoothly.
How smooth is the process?
It's smooth because when parents come, they are asked whether they've gone to assess the results of their work, and when they are given, we just the ICT man will also work on it, and the person is registered into the system.
How many students are you expecting to register, and how many so far have you done with?
I'm expecting 483 students, and as at now, 266 have registered.
And do you have enough facilities to accommodate all these?
Yes, we have. We can easily accommodate them.
Let's get inside there to see how the whole registration process is panning out here at the T.I. Ahmadiyya Girls Senior High School. So we are here within this particular hall where the whole registration process is ongoing. You can see it's a hall fully packed with parents as well as the awards trying to sail through the whole registration process. And we'll be engaging a couple of them to understand whether they are really enthused about the free SHS policy taking full implementation from. So I have one parent with me here to understand how the process is going for her. Why are you here this morning?
I'm here to seek admission for my ward.
And how is the process going for you?
It's so good. It's good. The process is going fine, like the way we want it to be.
You, as a parent, you should be happy that your ward is getting the opportunity to go to school for free.
Yes, I'm very happy.
What's your name, sir?
I'm called Mr. Awuni.
Yeah. So you're also here to get admission processes sailed through for your ward. How excited are you?
Yeah, I'm very happy because my ward had my daughter had admission here, and then I'm very happy that it's free. Yeah.
Initially, were you thinking of paying?
Anyway, we thank God for that. I was thinking maybe we'll pay money, but the government has let us understand that we are not going to pay anything.
All the students and the parents here are just happy for the mere fact that they are not going to pay a dime for the free senior high school, except for some personal effects that they will be bringing to school. And that is the mood here at T.I. Ahmadiyya Girls Senior High School.
Now from Cape Coast, our Central Regional Correspondent Thomas Khan reports parents whose wards had been placed lauded the program as they went through their registration.
Many students and their parents had reported at the Infantipim School at about 8:30 Monday morning. Private and commercial vehicles kept trooping in to drop them. The process here was first to cross-check student name, program allocated, and dormitory. The placement form has to be sent to the administration to either submit or take a prospectus form and a letter to be attached to another form which required more information of the students and parents. Though there was a queue, parents told us the process was orderly and one required about 5 minutes to go through it. School authorities would not speak to the news team as the PTA meeting was ongoing.
Right, let's come back to the studio and do some discussions on this. Dr. Kwabena B. Tando is an educationist, is here with us. Good evening, sir. Thank you. We're grateful that you could join. So let's get your assessment of this whole free SHS thing, day one.
Well, I believe that so far it's been an okay start. I don't think anybody expected it to be the best start ever. But it's been an okay start. There's been some hiccups in the whole process, but overall, the policy is one that we all know as Ghanaians that is here to stay, and so it's at we're at a point where we need to put our shoulders to the wheel and make sure it works.
I like your optimism, but are there any cause for concern from where you stand in terms of how much needs to be put in, implementation challenges, making sure that eventually the rollout covers forms 1, 2, 3, and the entire SHS system?
Well, I believe there is cause to be optimistic, but at the same time, of course, all of us observing from afar, we've seen that there are areas that the implementation could have been a lot better. We know that there has been challenges with the computer placement system, but it is nothing new. We've seen them in the past, and this year, because of the fact that we're going to get a lot more students in the system, I believe that the system has been inundated with more registrations. And so obviously those challenges could have been avoided, or if anything, we could have reduced those challenges by having some test run of the system. Obviously today, if you listen to some of the news throughout the day, you realize that there have been parents who've gone to schools and they've seen that their children's names are not on the registration list. And you see that the schools could have done a lot more in terms of preparation for this day. It seems like we've been talking about it, but the administrators and people in our secondary schools seem like they are still a bit inundated because of the early start of first-year students.
I know also that this has become a big political issue. Of course, the opposition NDC today held a press conference to say that this was actually a sham. This is a fraud because the MPP promised to do a full free senior high school to cover all years. Then they wake up to make references to 2015 when former President John Mahama launched a free SHS policy. Do you get the feeling that the minority is misdirecting its arsenals, or you would say this is actually a true reflection of the start of the implementation?
Well, one of the things I try to do as an educationist is to try to stay in the straight and narrow and try not to make this a political conversation. And this is because we have NDC children as well as MPP children, PPP
all
children, all are going to school. And so I know that politics has its place, and you know there's been a lot of conversation around the implementation of the policy. But you know, I think that we'll be a little bit disingenuous if we talk about the fact that the process or the policy itself has not been fully implemented, because anytime a policy is being implemented, it will be difficult to say that it should be retroactive, and therefore it should have covered second year and third year students. I didn't see when President Kufuor introduced the 4-year system that every student that was already in the system should have now stayed for 4 additional years. I think
it makes sense to
it makes sense that
slowly.
you progress it. As a nation, I think we are at the point that we need to see, listen, what can we do to ensure that this works? Obviously, there are challenges, there are some false starts, but those things do not impede the totality.
So
of
you,
the
in
program.
principle, support this free SHS?
Oh, I believe that most Ghanaians support it. And the reason why most Ghanaians support it is because, number one, it's constitutional. You know, and it is in our constitution that we provide a free, accessible education, and if anything, quality education to all students at least through primary and secondary school. And so, for the most part, even regardless of which side of the political aisle you walk, most people support it. If anything, it is more in the implementation,
the approaches. Whether it should be progressive or all at one swoop and everybody goes free. Anyway, yes. But do you not get the feeling or the impression that this could affect quality delivery?
Well, when you all of a sudden have more students, you need to look at a lot of other things that has been missing in our schools for a long time. Number one, we've not spent a lot of time doing career and guidance counseling for our students.
You think we should be doing that?
We should be doing a lot more of that. We need to create more career pathways for our students in senior high school. We need to create room for gifted and talented education in our senior high schools. And so obviously this will mean that we're going to get more students into the system with the same number of teachers or resources that we have. If anything, we should take a little bit more of a wait-and-see approach, because there's been a lot of conversation around the other things that are going to be implemented to ensure that this is successful. You know, more training for teachers, licensing for teachers. And so there's been a lot of conversation around the things we can do
boosting the morale of existing teachers.
Yes. And if we don't see it in the next 1 year, 2 years, then I think
we'll begin to. But for now, we need to look at the optimistic side and say that this is a good policy. We should get up and support it.
Yes, I believe we all need to be optimistic, but we need to be cautiously optimistic.
Cautiously optimistic. But does it scare you that perhaps this could not be sustainable? I mean, the opposition has been constantly saying that this is not sustainable. Do you fear that the program could crash before it landed?
I think, for the most part, if it has started, we have a responsibility to make sure it is sustainable. If it means we have to dig deeper, there may be times that we have to take bold decisions.
If it means we need to cut back on corruption and plow in the money,
that will definitely work.
We won't get much money from there.
Well, we know that there are a lot of leakages, and so definitely there's going to be money that way. But even if it means introducing more a special tax to support education, the idea that it is free does not mean that it is absolutely free, because all of us Ghanaians pay taxes. Yeah. And so in some way, shape or form, we are contributing towards the education of our children. It is just that it is not coming directly from our pockets when our children are in school. Yeah. But all of us contribute in some way, shape or form. If we get to the point that we realize that, listen, we need more money, as a nation, I think we have to take the bold step and say that this is what we're going to do.
Right. Before I make you go, you were talking about the quality aspect. I'm interested in that. So let's throw some more light on what we need to put in place to ensure the quality and access are sustained.
Number one, I believe that we need to continue to equip our already great teachers. Because the teacher is the key to producing the best that we have in a nation. So we already have great teachers in the system, but we need to continue to provide in-service training, ways for them to continually improve. We don't want teachers who are stagnant, who are not being equipped and re-equipped and retrained. That's number one. Number two, we have to ensure that we have more facilities to accommodate these students. We are hearing that there is almost 100,000 new people who are coming into the system because of re-entry and re-registration and the fact that it is free. And so we need to ensure that our facilities can also accommodate, because we don't want a situation that would have an overcrowding of our facilities. Right. We would also have to spend some time doing a lot more career and guidance counseling.
Yeah, you mentioned
and
that
then
already.
spend some time figuring out what are we going to do with these students after 3 years. Yeah, our tertiary institutions going to be ready to receive them after 3 years, because all of a sudden we have a lot more people who are going to graduate in 3 years with a high school, senior high school certificate. And so where are they going to go? And our tertiary institution is going to be ready to receive the students.
Right, Dr. Tando, we're grateful for your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Dr.
It's been a pleasure.
Governor Tando is an educationist, and you heard his views there. We're streaming. Remember, you can interact with us on our Facebook page, and you can hear us also on 3FM 92.7. We have more news for you. Please don't go away. Welcome back. Now, the main chamber of Ghana's first Parliament House, located opposite the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum in Accra, has been pulled down. It's being argued the building, which was constructed in the 50s, could have been preserved as a heritage site and a tourist attraction to generate some revenue for the country.
Without prior notice, many woke up to the news of the demolition of the structure which housed the old Gold Coast Legislative Assembly from 1951, when Dr. Kwame Nkrumah became the leader of the government's business under the British colonial rule. On a visit Monday morning, the main entrance of the facility gave no hint of such an exercise being carried out. However, behind the facility was where the action, which started yesterday, was being carried out by construction firm Seamen Ghana Limited. The Member of Parliament for Adakulu Kwame Agbuja is one of the many Ghanaians who had visited the place earlier to verify the credibility of the news. He was disappointed Ghana could sacrifice what could have been one of its historical landmarks.
I'm surprised that some people can make a decision to knock down this thing and put up a new building for Shraj. So what does that mean to the trajectory of how our parliamentary democracy evolved? This country is fixated on new, never having an attempt to preserve the old.
The Accra Metropolitan Assembly is reported to have declared the demolition exercise to pave way for the construction of a new one at a cost of 15 million cedis illegal.
Agencies should also know better and act in accordance of the law. That if you want to pull down that building, you need permit from the Accra Metropolitan Assembly.
Right, let's get on to Skype. Professor Kojo Gavoa is the Dean, School of Arts, University of Ghana, and his area of speciality are ethnoarchaeology, public archaeology, and visual anthropology and economic anthropology. Prof, nice to have you. I'm trying to just situate your expertise appropriately so we can have a very in-depth conversation. So you are alarmed at this move by Shraj. Why so?
I am indeed alarmed by the move by Shraj to destroy the old Parliament House building and construct another edifice there because, as someone has suggested, this is a historic landmark. It is a historic site, what we can refer to as a monument of Ghana's democratic dispensation. To pull it down, it's part of the process of distorting and wiping out part of our history of democracy in this country. The burden is not necessarily to remain there and be conserved to serve the purposes of tourism. Monuments and historic sites are not only for tourist consumption, but also to serve as a reference for the people of Ghana, something we can identify with, something the next generation would use to learn and educate themselves.
Prof, let's talk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about what you just said, that this is part of attempts to distort the history of this country. What exactly do you mean by that? What do you have in mind when you said that?
What I have in mind is that it may not necessarily be a deliberate effort. Those who are behind the destruction may not have even conceived of the essence of preserving and conserving this building. But once it is destroyed, it distorts our history. Because when we talk about democratic dispensation in this country, when did it begin? Did it just begin with the Fourth Republic? No. It began way back, and this building was constructed and used from 1951 onwards until 1981. So there's a lot to be learned there. There's a lot of history in that building. Buildings, like other material objects, are meaningfully constituted. They are loaded with all kinds of information about our identity, information about our history as a nation. Many nations are preserving and conserving their national heritage assets.
And we are pulling ours
destroying
down.
Ours?
Now, the argument Shraj has made is that the 2013 fire that got parts of the building exposed staff of the commission to risks. So these were their grounds for sanctioning the demolition. Would you say this is fair reasoning?
That is not enough. That is not enough. The building could be refurbished. Okay, it could be refurbished, and I referred to a process of conservation which is called anastomosis. The same structure could be maintained, but the interior features could be modernized. Additional features could be added, but the main structure, the character of the building, could be there for posterity. Yeah. So the argument that it placed workers there at risk, and the fire gutted it, and so it had to be demolished, I don't think it is sufficient for the destruction of our heritage asset of this sort.
Do you think somebody should be punished for this?
Well, punished if the person did it deliberately. But this should be a lesson to the whole nation. We have destroyed so many facilities that could serve as part of our heritage assets. We don't only have to be conserving what UNESCO or other bodies tell us are our heritage, but this facility, like many others that have already been pulled down in cantonments and other parts of Accra without any proper documentation, okay, are some aspects of our national heritage. The lesson we may learn is that probably it is time for us to have an inventory of what we can call our national heritage assets, the destruction of which would have to be protected by the agency that has been mandated to protect the heritage assets of this country. I don't know even if the Ghana Museums and Monuments Board and the National Museum have been contacted in this regard. So it's a sad affair. You see, in some nations, such things are done during warfare or when terrorists take over the nation because they don't consult with the proper or appropriate authorities. But in our country, we don't have such a thing. So we should be consulting, we should be seeking advice, but not only driven by the motivation for a new thing to serve what purpose? Just Shraj. And Shraj has expanded, is expanding. Its work is important as an element in our democratic dispensation. However, the old building could have been conserved, and that building, maintaining its character, would still have housed Shraj.
Right, Professor Gavois, we're grateful for your time. Thank you very much. Professor Kojo Gavois is Dean of the School of Arts, University of Ghana. That's how we end News at 10. I'm Stephen Enti. Thank you extremely for staying with us. And for those who tuned in to 3FM 92.7, thank you for leaving your dial there. On behalf of the crew, good night. There is more news at 3news.com.